Aloha and good afternoon. Thanks for joining us here on This Is Now. After a 7-day trial, a Manhattan jury finds Donald Trump liable for sexual abuse and defamation in the E. Jean Carroll case.
Yeah, Trump's attorney says the former president will appeal the verdict. Michael George reports from New York.
A New York jury found former President Donald Trump liable in the civil lawsuit brought by E. Jean Carroll, accusing him of battery and defamation.
E. Jean was able to access the civil court system. That is a success. It does not matter what the verdict is.
The 79-year-old writer sued the former president last November, alleging he raped her in a department store dressing room in the mid-1990s and then defamed her by denying it ever happened.
It's the most ridiculous, disgusting story. It was just made up.
Trump did not take the stand and didn't appear at the trial. Jurors did watch the former president's videotaped deposition.
And I said it, and I say it with as much respect as I can, but she is not my type.
Jurors were also shown the Access Hollywood tape made public just before the 2016 election.
You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab him by the
Carroll's attorneys painted the alleged attack as part of a pattern of behavior and called other Trump accusers to the stand.
She obviously presented an amazing case, and he had no defense and didn't even show up.
Attorneys for Trump argued Carroll was trying to profit from a false story and questioned her memory. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
The jury awarded Carroll about $5 million in damages. After the verdict, the former President Trump posted on social media saying, "I have absolutely no idea who this woman is. The verdict is a disgrace, a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time."